Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Ben Bateman.
And I'm Andrew Ghai.
And we are
the Action Guys.
Hang with us today while we talk to you guys about why in action movies versus sports movies, winning is more important than surviving. We'll see you guys in just one quick second. All right,
I mean, it's a good point.
Back.
It's a real good, honest point.
I think if you really think about it and talk about some of the greatest films of all time, you'll realize how true it actually is. But that's the point of the show. That's what we're doing today.
That's what we're doing today because, this is the episode after Thanksgiving. Yeah. And what do you always love to do with your family? You love to eat a ton of food and watch a movie. And for me and my family, Rocky has always been, I don't know why, the Thanksgiving movie that we watch.
And it is a Thanksgiving movie, kind of. They have Thanksgiving in the first one. Mm-hmm. They released them now on Thanksgiving. So we're doing this episode because Creed 2 has just come out. And we're very excited about it. It's obviously Creed 1 we loved. And we've covered on our other show, Action Movie Anatomy. So we sort of were like, what is interesting to us about the Creed Rocky franchise?
Yeah, why is it that these are why Rocky? Why is it that sports action movies essentially, because basically all sports movies are action movies because they have action in them. Why are those the action movies that you watch with your family as opposed to let's watch Gladiator together? Right. Even though my family loves Gladiator.
And so we have some theories about this, and what it really comes down to is that we believe in movies, winning is so much more relatable than surviving, and that's what makes these movies so compelling. So we have some points to kind of share as we go through the show, but before we do that, let's remind everybody kind of what this is, who we are, and what we're doing. You guys might know us from the Movie Trivia Schmodown, where we are on Team Action. Yeah. Looking at Dastardly Drew Guy here.
Yeah, this is definitely a different persona. You might also know us from Action Movie Anatomy, a show where we break down one movie for an hour long specifically. This is much more of a tangential show where we can take the idea of Rocky and talk about winning versus dying.
Yeah, if you guys actually want to hear a full breakdown of Creed 2, you can. That's on the other network. We're doing that on Popcorn Talk Network, a full review of Creed 2. So this one is a little more about sports movies in general. But that's what today's show is really going to be about. If you want to follow along the conversation, you can find me personally at Ben Bateman Media, Twitter and Instagram.
You guys can find me at Andrew Ghai, and make sure to click like, subscribe, comment below. But really for us, it's about subscribing and downloading. Get those podcast numbers up on Podcast One or on, is it Apple Podcast?
Yeah, either one.
That you Apple users use?
Yeah. You rep that droid hard.
I get a lot of crap when I send green text messages to anyone. It's like immediately I get crap about it.
What are you doing?
You guys aren't better than us. So some of the things that we think about or that we found were so relatable about Rocky or these sports movies, the first thing is you got to have an underdog.
Yeah, so I was thinking, and I think the underdog thing, I mean, that's what makes Rocky 1, which is, we can pretty much both agree, the greatest sports movie of all time, even if it's not as good as later ones because they're more developed.
Right.
It's the OG.
It created so much. It's the original. Your guy doesn't win. At the end of the movie, he's fighting for something bigger than winning, which is kind of counterintuitive to what we're talking about today.
And it wins Best Picture in '76. I mean, it's a big deal. It was a huge thing that movie won Best Picture. I was the first one, and I don't know if we've had a sports movie win Best Picture since. I don't think we have.
I mean, we've hardly even had action movies win. They're always action hybrids. I mean, we talk about Gladiator. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah. That won Best Picture, but that is really more of an action drama. It's carried by the performances of Joaquin and Russell.
Yeah, because you can kind of you could say The Departed or No Country. They have action and they're dramatic, but they're not action movies in the way that the action guys talk about action movies. We did a whole episode about Gerard Butler, for fuck's sake. I think the Rocky franchise is arguably the most awesome, and it starts out with the most underdog story ever. I mean, he's this guy, and he's from Philly, and he's down on his luck, right? Yeah. He gets his shot, and he's playing against the unbeatable, the perfect fighter, Apollo Creed.
All I want to do is take him to the last round.
Yeah.
No one's ever beaten him before. No one's even knocked him down before. It's not. So that's why it is still about winning, right? Because it's not about winning the fight. That was never the goal.
Well, and it's so he loses that fight. I mean, spoiler alert if you've never seen Rocky.
Watch it.
And I it's been long enough. Probably we can talk about Creed 1 also.
I would think
spoilers.
So.
Same thing happens.
Yeah.
Right. It's one of the hallmarks of the classic sports movies is that's an acceptable ending. As long as you leave it all on the field
and you prove what you were trying to prove. So again, the number one thing that is the most relatable for us is the underdog. The next thing that happens is that speech, right? There's always a speech.
And it's either the pregame speech And that could even extend to like the
I'm getting hyped right now.
That could extend to like the pre-fight speech, like right, like if you like the night before. Right? I mean, that's in Rocky. That's him talking to Adrian. I can't beat him.
Yep.
I just want to go toe to toe. So, or it's the pregame, or our favorite is the in-game.
You're losing, or
you got to turn it around. Speech.
Yes, dude.
That's my favorite one.
It puts everything in perspective, and that's the one. That's when we talk about fist pump moments a lot. That's the moment where in the room it happens, and you all look around. You got that smile on your face.
You get goosebumps.
It's gonna happen.
Tear up a little, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. It gets exciting, and those ones are always interesting. 'Cause it's like I often feel with those speeches that when I'm in the movie the first time, I don't realize how affected I'm being, like how much it's affecting me.
Right.
It's on the rewatch that you realize you're like, God, this is so good.
This speech is so
This
good.
is so good. So
Our Independence Day.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's a good speech.
That's a very good speech. And then finally, the conclusion, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's the win or the loss, the live or the die, that's the third part of this equation. So you got the underdog, you got the speech, and then you finally at the very end you either have the win or the loss.
And this is where we sort of our initial point, guys, of surviving versus winning. This is where it really comes into context, because in an action movie, let's just take some of our favorites of all time. In Armageddon, if they don't win, the world's gone.
It just ends.
In The Rock, if they don't get it, San Francisco is demolished. Everyone's going to die. Like it's going to they're going to kill millions and millions of people.
In Braveheart, for instance, if he doesn't give that speech and they don't go to battle, then the Scottish are just overrun by the English.
Yeah, you're all going to die.
And you all are going to die.
So those are about survival, and those are great. But the thing is, what's interesting about the sports ones, and the reason that we decided to compare the two, is that like it's more affecting to see somebody talk about like you have to knock out this boxing fighter in this match right now,
or you're not gonna,
or it's bad for you, and you get more excited. I feel like about that almost as a movie fan than you do about like losing your country or like 10 million people or the world exploding.
Right, because first of all, in those movies, 9 times out of 10 million people don't die in it. San Francisco doesn't get blown up.
Well, right, so you make a good point here.
Right.
And the point you're making is that the stakes in a big popcorn action movie
They're
that the
too
world's
high.
not going to end.
They're too high.
Yeah. It would be a bad movie if the aliens won and the world was over at the end of Independence Day.
If at the end of Core, it just stayed cored. Do you know what Core is? So they drill to the center of the Earth and restart the planet?
I believe it's called The Core. Yeah.
It's a very good movie.
If you don't put a "the" in front of it,
You would not get the points
penalized.
and you would lose. Yes.
Yeah, and it's funny too, like the idea that you can lose but still win. We kind of did that in our second Schmodown match against the Nerds Watch.
Yeah.
If you recall, we lost in OT, but it kind of put us on the map.
Yeah,
People
because we
cared
came out
about
with our moms, we had these weird characters, and we broke character at the end. It's about getting there.
We left it all on the field.
We left it all on the field.
And that's a big one. You know, you can people sometimes in sports do lose by winning, and Rocky's the original example. So, yeah, I think the stakes being understandably high, but not like astronomical, is what makes those sports things such a great payoff.
Absolutely. So we've pulled 8 speeches.
Yes.
We pulled 5 from sports movies and 3 from action movies. And the 3 from action movies are some of the most famous and some of our favorites. And let's just talk about them real quick. So you mentioned the shower room scene in The Rock. Now, are you talking the "you walked into the wrong goddamn room, Commander," or are you talking the Michael Biehn speech before they go to the shower room? Because we all know the shower room is the scene.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a few really dramatic, great scenes. God, there's so many good scenes in that movie.
It's the greatest honor of my life serving with you, General.
Yeah, it's a great one.
That's
David
a
Morse.
great one.
I also can get really into "I miss you so much." Talking to the tombstone at the beginning. That's great.
Barbara?
Yeah.
Is it Barbara?
I think it is Barbara. Yeah, there's something I couldn't do while you were here.
That speech
is so good.
Yeah.
So I think, though, the speech in that movie. So I told this story on another show we did recently.
Okay.
We have this fantasy football league. This is particularly relevant for multiple reasons. It's called the Liquor League. We've done it for 7 years, and
the winner of the league gets $6,000 essentially of top prize, top shelf booze of their choice.
It's a literal kitchen table, like a 6-person kitchen table, corner to corner, with just like scotch and wine and beer. Like, we're not alcoholics.
We're not.
So
we're not.
This league early on was started when Drew and I worked at a bar together years ago. And so we convinced the ownership to let us come into the bar and draft But we had to do it at a time the bar wasn't open. So we would come in at 6 a.m.
On a Sunday.
On the Sunday, and I would insist that it was the last possible Sunday before the football season started. Because we needed the most information from preseason, because we took it very seriously.
It's always during one of our buddies' birthdays.
It's like usually Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
Usually. And so we would come in, I'd set up at 5 a.m., and we would start the draft at 6. And I took it super seriously because I love these movie speeches that we're talking about here. I would write a speech, and I would play on the loudspeaker like big dramatic music, like the big scene in Sunshine when he's like trying to walk in the suit, and it's like so dramatic. I would play that music one year, and I would deliver these speeches. I would usually take lines from my favorite movies and inject them in there. So I take a line from Michael Biehn's The Rock speech. We have video of this one that
so good
somewhere on the internet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the make no mistake about it, gentlemen. You were in for the fight of your lives against probably the greatest commander in the history of the Vietnam War. I shit you not.
I shit you not.
And so that, to me, because that speech always hyped me up. It's not as good of a scene,
right,
as the other.
Right, and you do get hyped, and I love that. And then you hop over to Braveheart, one of the greatest hyped speeches of all time. They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom. He finally convinces the Scottish to sacrifice their lives to fight the English, to stand up for themselves, and it's amazing, right? You get so hyped. You're like, they're going to go to war. They actually win that battle. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Again. Amazing.
And I mean, just to wrap up, because we didn't get to talk about Chow Room as much,
right?
Which is the one we like more. That's Ed Harris, and he's in the elevated position. He's yelling at the Marines, if you don't put your guns down, you're all going to die. And it's this great, just who's got the bigger dick moment.
Yeah.
And but again, like they're fighting for. Well, we'll get to that.
They're fighting for the fate of the world.
We're fighting for the fate of the world. So then I think the third action movie speech or scene we would want to talk about would be your favorite film of all time.
Yeah, so there's two. It's from Gladiator. I've mentioned it a bunch. There's the very beginning speech that he gives to the cavalry, right?
That's where he's on the horse.
He's on the horse,
and he's like, if you wake up in a field.
It's like, if you wake up and there's sun on your face or in a field, you're in Elysium and you're already dead. And it's like, the worst that can happen is you're going to die. Yeah. So let's just go out there and lay it all on the field. And then, of course, the moment when he takes off the mask, right? I'm Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander. And you get that moment of the hurt father, the destroyed husband, all that stuff, and it all puts it in perspective because the whole world stops, right? But again,
what's he say? He says, "Father to a murdered son,
husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next," which is just like
true general of the
servant to the true emperor Marcus Aurelius. The whole thing is so good, but again, we're talking context here.
Yeah.
We're talking actually, I don't know what it's like to have my family murdered and then fight back from being a general to a slave to try to gain, it's cool.
Totally. Now, we will get into our favorite sports speeches here in just a moment. But it's important to point out something. There's a similarity with all three of the films we just mentioned. And you may think that those speeches are about, those speeches are about survival.
Right.
They're not.
No.
They're about winning.
They're all about winning.
Because the guy that gives the speech in every case dies. So he gives his life. He doesn't survive. It's about his team winning.
Right, because you got Michael Biehn and Ed Harris. They both die. David Morse dies as well.
Yeah.
You got Braveheart. Obviously, we all know how that ends with him screaming freedom while getting disemboweled. And then Gladiator.
Yeah. Now, if the general that was giving the speech and it was to win and they survived it, it would be a sports movie. But that's not the point. It's not dramatic enough.
No.
They have to be fighting for their team to win. It's the same thing. And people just don't realize that's really the case in the biggest stakes movies almost every time.
So that's actually kind of why we teased you a little bit in the beginning. It's not really that winning is more important than surviving. But in all of these movies, it's not about surviving.
The greatest speeches are about winning.
It's about winning.
That's the thing. Winning is everything in these movies.
Yes, and winning is relatable, right? Because we all win and lose every single day.
And also, we started this out with the underdog point, and I think that's an important one to get back to because being the underdog, like being the underdog in any situation, in any style of movie. Okay, I'll give you a great example, actually. This is jumping off topic for a second, but I watched that movie Gifted. Did you see this?
No.
It's the Chris Evans movie from
Right.
last
Yeah,
year.
yeah, yeah. I heard it was pretty good.
The genius daughter. She's like 7. So it was really good. I watched it on an airplane last night. And at one point in the movie, this like 11-year-old bully trips a 7-year-old who's on the bus with her, and she's like super smart and she's like pretty feisty because her dad's like a tough guy, whatever.
Right.
And trips him, and she gets pissed, and she's like, "You just embarrassed the 7-year-old. You should be ashamed of yourself." He's like, "What are you going to do about it?" She takes a big hard book. She smashes his face, breaks his nose.
Oh,
so the next scene, they're in the principal's office,
right?
Where, the dad is, and
is Evan's the dad, right?
Yeah. And the teacher's like, we're considering expelling your daughter, and he's like, well, first of all, let's be honest here, you're not going to expel my daughter. But then the second thing is, he's like, it's a
great line.
She's like, well, why would you encourage violence? And he's like, first of all, she stood up to an 11-year-old that was bullying a 7-year-old. I could not be more proud of her.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes. I was like, that's the dad.
That's a real dad.
Yeah. Because the underdog, you're fighting for the underdog there, and it's so satisfying, even in your indie drama.
Right.
But it is Captain America delivering the line. But I mean,
yeah.
It's still just the little kid gets tripped on the bus, and you fight for the underdog, and you just immediately are like, I want this guy to win.
Yeah.
Give him the medal.
Yep. This family. Okay, so underdogs.
Yeah.
Right? The greatest underdog of all time is Rocky. That's why we started this conversation.
Yep.
So we have pulled 5 speeches, probably 5 of the most famous speeches from any movies, sports movies especially. And these are the ones that pulling this list last night got me so hyped. I watched them all 3 times.
Did you jerk off to each one?
I did not. That's a horrible thing to say. I would never do that.
I was kidding. I wasn't kidding.
So which one do you want to hop in for? You know what? I'm going to hop in with the Hoosiers one first because it's my least favorite.
Okay.
But it's still awesome.
That's one of the all-time film legends. It's Hackman.
Oh, it's one of the. It's the beginning of the slow clap.
Yeah.
Right. So he's in there and he goes. He talks about do not talk about the next step until you climb the one in front of you. He's talking about the tournament bracket. And he's putting everything in perspective. My favorite thing. Because I've been doing this Clash Royale thing, this esports hosting thing, and the crowds matter. And that's why this next line I love. Forget about the crowds, the size of the school, their fancy uniforms, and remember what got you here. Focus on the fundamentals that we've practiced time and time again. Don't focus on winning or losing. Focus on playing the best to the best of your potential, and I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game. In my mind, you're all winners. And then
the slow clap.
The beginning of the slow clap. And the reason that I love it is because he doesn't ask him to win.
Yeah.
Right?
He asks him to focus.
He asks him to focus and lay it all on the court. And in your mind, you'll be winners. And you're like, well, if they play to the best of their potential, if they put it all on the court, they're going to win.
Yeah, but it's great, too, because in a sports movie, there's a chance they don't.
Exactly. And that's the other thing that's so great is because even in all these movies, Gladiator, Braveheart, The Rock, there has to be kind of a happy ending.
Yeah.
Even though the main character dies.
Right.
That's the beautiful thing about sports movies is you don't know who's going to win or lose, ever. You never know. Unless it's like Miracle, for instance.
Right, if it's a true story. Yeah, that's the only difference. But I do have to say that the best sports movies are rewatchable because even if you know the ending, it's still the sequencing, the way it's all set up. I mean, we're going to talk about it in a second, but Warrior is one of my favorite films ever made.
Absolutely.
It's my top 5, and the beats that movie hits, I fist pump and cheer every time.
Well, okay,
I've seen 100 times.
We had Gavin O'Connor on Action Movie Anatomy for Warrior.
Yep.
But he also directed Miracle, which we also have on this list.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell doing a great Chicago accent.
Yeah, I love Russell as Herb Brooks. He's great. This is a great moment in his career too because he was still this is before he went away and came back.
Yeah.
He went away for a decade. He's just come back in the last 4 or 5 years.
I just saw that he's playing Santa Claus on some Netflix show.
Good old Kurt.
It's a bummer.
Yeah. But he's he's way back in it now. He's he's in everything again. Yeah. But there was a little while, and this is Kurt's never gotten an Oscar nom. I'm pretty positive. This would have been the one that he could have gotten,
right?
But he didn't. And this is also that movie that it's not taken super duper seriously.
No, it's kind of forgotten about, but the moments in it are amazing.
And the speech that he gives is a really great speech. There's a couple because it's the true story, right? It's the true story of the American hockey team and having to play against the Soviets, and so Herb comes out.
They're all nobodies. None of them are pros.
Yeah, so I love that. He comes out. He starts it right. Great moments are born from great opportunity, and that's what we have right here. I love in the middle of it after he's talked about. He's kind of getting them all hyped, and they're the ultimate underdogs.
They are the ultimate underdogs.
Yeah, they're the all-time real life sport underdog ever.
Because again, it was back when there was no professionals at all, and Russia's team was insane.
Yeah, they were crazy.
Yeah,
I mean that literally created the entire '80s stigma stereotype of badass Russians. In fact, it even carried into action movies.
Russians have been villains in America in action movies forever, and now we're circling back around.
Yeah. But there's this one great moment in the middle of the speech when he's talking to the kids, and he just stops and he's like, "Tonight, you are the greatest hockey team in the world." It's a great moment.
It's so good.
Because you put yourself for a second in their bodies, of 18 or whatever, 19, 20, however old they are, 17 maybe even.
Yeah.
And like you're like, this is gonna be the toughest night of my life. But he says it like you're the greatest hockey team in the world. And you kind of look at the lights for a second, and it's like, yeah, like we could do this. This is real.
Because that's the thing about sports. Again, even in modern sports today, any given Sunday, as they say, anything can happen on any given day. The worst team can beat the best team. That's why people love March Madness so much, is because you get that 32nd seed or whatever that takes out number one.
And competition is like the oldest. It's the oldest trick in the book. I mean, it's literally, that's the funniest part, right? It's like why is a sports movie so much more relatable? And it's because the stakes are relatable.
Because competition is something we deal with every day.
Like you're trying to win like the office trivia pool,
right?
And it's like final question. You're like, I mean, we do Schmodown, so we know like about like the high stakes trivia, but like literally any level of competition between you and your friends, even 6 of you.
You're like, I gotta go listen to the Herb Brooks speech. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you like want to win so bad, and everyone can relate to that.
And so we talk about relatability, and the next one I love because we kind of. I actually like the way that we did, because we went Hoosiers to Miracle, and now we're going to get an Any Given Sunday. And it's almost like it goes from the stakes of winning a game, and then it moves into just real life, which is beautiful to finish this out. So, like, some of the things, and I hadn't seen the Any Given Sunday speech in a really long time. And when I called you last night, you started to recite it.
Yeah.
And I was, like, really impressed, because I didn't know that it was that popular. But a lot of people think it's Al Pacino's best speech he's ever given in his career. And there's just so much good in it, because he hates himself.
Yeah, he's got that line. And these days, I don't like the face looking at me in the mirror.
I don't like the face looking at me in the mirror. Yeah, it's so good. But the rest of it's, life is a game of inches.
Yeah.
And so is football. And he says in here, we tear ourselves apart, and everyone else around us for that inch.
We fight for that inch.
We fight for that inch. And he's between living and losing, between living and dying.
Yeah.
I love is another great line. And then the last thing that he says, that's my favorite. He goes, I tell you, in every fight, it's the guy that's willing to die who's going to win that inch.
Yeah, it's also peak raspy voice Pacino.
Yeah.
He sounds like it doesn't sound human for parts of it. He sounds so different than Michael Corleone at that point. You would never believe it was the same guy.
No. Did he just smoke like crazy?
He just yelled a lot, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah. I mean, like you notice it happen. A lot of these guys, their voices change as they get older.
Yeah.
It's just what happened to him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happened to Pullman. You know what the problem with Pullman was? He didn't die at the end of Independence Day, so he sucked in the second one.
I know, the second speech.
Yeah.
His voice, his old man voice is really
wasn't good.
It's not great.
The Any Given Sunday speech, I think what's great about the Any Given Sunday speech is that
it's not about football.
And it's also the only speech here where he's addressing he's not addressing like necessarily as much of like a little bitch or like an underdog, not a little bitch, but
right.
He's addressing a group of like super egotistical, full-grown men who play for basically the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah,
like it's a big deal, and they are trying to win, but like these guys, a lot of these guys are the worst. If you've seen that movie recently, like they're all like drug addicts and crazy. And
they're like the worst athletes ever, all on the same team.
But he's trying to find a way to get through to him, and because I love that moment in the speech when he's like, I've pushed away anyone that ever loved me.
Yeah.
I pissed away all my money, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I love that line.
Well, and also you and I love the broken hero.
The grizzled
broken hero that has a vice, drinking, whatever else is. But we love, and again, what I love so much about that speech is the relatability. It's all about life, fighting for that extra inch, how hard it is. The person who's willing to die in the room is the person that's going to win in the job interview, whatever it is, the person that lays it all out on the table.
I think Kevin Undergaro is a good friend of ours, founder of AfterBuzz TV, along with Maria Menounos, references this speech a lot.
Oh, really?
Well, because his line, Kevin loves the line, "We fight for every inch."
Yeah.
In life and in business, he likes to say, "We fight for every inch." That's one of his favorites, and I think I know we've talked about the speech with him before. He's a fan of it because it's true. I mean, I think that's probably the thing that separates this one from the others on the list is that it is about you're all rich, full-grown men. So what are you fighting for?
Right.
You're fighting to win because winning is everything.
Winning is everything.
Yeah.
Because if you don't win, you lose. And if you like in this, it's like between living and losing, between living and dying. It's the same thing because if you're just a loser your whole life, man, you know what I mean? Like, I love that speech. And then these last two, you can take it. I know you want to.
Well, we'll get into Creed first.
We get into Creed first?
I mean, just because the other one's our favorite ever.
Yeah. I mean, this one, for me, this one hits home to me.
Creed?
You know it does.
Yeah.
You know?
When I rewatched Creed, this moment, like, rocked me to my core. I talk about it. So this is the moment in Creed where it's the final fight, and he's getting the shit kicked out of him.
Just like his dad.
And he goes into the corner.
Watch your dad die right here in my hands.
And Stallone's in the corner, and Adonis's eye is swollen shut. And I love this moment, right, where he's like, how many fingers am I holding up, Adonis? And Stallone taps him, even though he's
already telling him to quit.
You gotta give up. What are you trying to prove? And he taps him the 3 times.
That's a fist pump.
Yeah, and he's like, he holds the fingers up because he can keep him in the fight because he knows he can relate. He's like, I know this is my advice to you, but I went through this, so I'm not gonna. And I know you can't see.
Yeah, exactly. I know you can't see, but I'm not gonna rob you of this moment.
Yeah. And he's like, what are you trying to prove out there? Yeah. It's what are you trying to? And he's like, that I'm not a mistake. And it's like, that's the beat.
It's so simple that I'm not a mistake. It's 5 words. That's it.
So again, it's a very relatable point to a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people can relate to that.
I was raised without a dad.
Yeah.
I was raised without a dad. And the first time that I saw that moment in the movie, it shattered me.
Yeah.
Because also, he doesn't have to be there.
No.
That's the thing that I love about it is that Adonis doesn't actually, he's not Rocky. He has the money if he needs it. He's got a life. He's very smart.
Yep.
Like he's got all these things going for him, but he doesn't want any of that. He just wants to be a fighter. That's all he wants.
He's got to prove to the world.
He proved to the world and to prove to himself. And that line, I mean, look at what we're doing for a living.
Yeah.
Look at what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's again, it's one of those things that's like, I got to keep doing this. I got to keep doing this to prove that I can, that I'm worth it, that I'm not a mistake, that this wasn't a mistake. It's so fucking relatable, man.
So I love, and my favorite part is that he says that, and there's this beat. And this is the scene in the movie that gets me every time.
Yeah.
Is that then Rock looks at him, and he's like, I never got to thank Mickey for taking care of, or Apollo for helping me after Mickey died.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna thank you right now, kid, because you've taught me more about myself. And he's like, it's building up, and he's like, and I'm gonna fight this thing because he's got cancer. He's like, but you got to get up there and knock this guy out. Can you do it?
Yeah.
Can you knock this guy out? And he gets up, and it plays the second half of the Rocky music.
Yes, and you've been waiting the whole movie for it.
Gotten it, and it cues it, and he gets up in slow mo. That's the scene for me that just I like. When that happened the last time, I jumped out of my chair.
Oh, dude, your whole chills right now. And then he loses.
Yeah.
He loses to Pretty Ricky Collin. But he said and that's the thing that I love.
Yeah.
Is I can't remember exactly what Ricky says. But he's like, you proved the time. You got a heart of gold. Like you deserve to be up here. Your dad would be proud of you. Essentially,
and he's been such a fuck the whole movie.
He's been such a fuck. And that one moment, just that little bit, he's won. He won, dude.
So then, this is the other thing I love so much as the post-game interview, is it also gets me so much. Right now we're just on a tangent because this movie's great.
Oh my god, it doesn't matter because we're talking about Creed 2 anyway. This is the reason we got here.
And he's like, if you could, talk to your father, what would you say? And I think he says that I forgive him.
And then I love him.
And I love him. And I'm proud to be a Creed.
And I'm proud to be a Creed.
God, it gets me every time.
God, even right now, it's like if we weren't on camera, I might just cry.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. You're crying a little bit.
I'm not crying. I'm not crying.
That one's pretty amazing. I think, and achieving that as a young director, for Coogler to be able to pull that off, and for Michael B.
to execute that, and also the look on Rock's face right when he says it.
Yeah.
Right before he goes in what he says, doesn't he give a little bit of like a defeated look real quick because he knows there's no going back now. Like once he says I'm not a mistake, doesn't he have a quick
It's a surprise, and it's also like a I think it's like he's like surprised to hear it, but it's also like okay, this makes sense. Maybe I suspected it. Maybe I suspected it, but now I get it. Yeah. Now this is just this angry, hurt kid, and he's gonna have to go out there and do this no matter what I say. How fucking good is Stallone in that movie?
He's so. I mean, it
makes me sad that Rylance actually beat him because
even though we love Rylance in that movie, he's so good.
Great. I would prefer Stallone has that Oscar.
I know. He does such a good job. I mean, maybe he'll get it for Creed 2 because from what we're seeing in the trailer, and he might die. Who knows? Maybe he finally gets it because The speech in the locker room, the speech in the house, the apologies, all the moments between him and Michael B are really amazing.
I love when he's talking to Adrian's tombstone. That one broke my heart.
That one is heartbreaking.
Yeah,
because they never acknowledge it.
Yeah, getting up these stairs a little hard.
That's so good. And then finally,
this is like, if you guys know us, if you're fans of us, if you've paid attention, if you've watched Action Movie Anatomy, you know how special of a place in our heart the movie Warrior has. It's meant a lot to us in a lot of ways. We became good friends with the writer. He introduced us to Gavin O'Connor, the director.
Yeah. Yep.
Anthony Tabakis is who I'm talking about, the writer. And we've gotten to meet and hang out with a lot of the cast now.
Yeah. Joel's a really great guy, and the process of making this movie also makes you love it even more. Again, Action Movie Anatomy, check it out. Go check out the Warrior episode. It is definitely the most insightful episode we've ever done in the process of making and casting and writing a movie from the two people that did it.
If you love Warrior, like, it's a can't miss. I've said this before, but like, as that movie grows on people's lists of like the all-time movies list, that's the best piece of Warrior content you'll ever find, because there's nothing 100%. Else that has been done by as big of fans with as much love and freedom to ask questions. Like, that we weren't being run by NBC. We wrote our own questions. It's an hour and 45-minute interview with the two guys that made the movie. So we get to ask everything. I mean, every little nuance, every moment they explain to us. Even
the look from Nick Nolte. They flew him back out after they had wrapped just to have the look at the end where he looks and he nods at Brendan.
It's my favorite moment.
It's so good. So, the speech, Frank Campana.
Very
untraditional trainer.
Very unorthodox trainer.
Unorthodox trainer, yeah.
So Campana...
Is that Beethoven?
Yeah, is that Beethoven? So Campana is, in this moment, we've watched, Brendan. This is not the final fight. This is
Koba, and he is getting his shit kicked in.
What nationality is Koba?
Russian.
Unbeatable.
I love that I didn't know it was Kurt Angle for the longest time, and he's just so yoked.
And tan.
And just gigantic.
He's like Zac Efron.
He's like Zac Efron. Well, one day we'll show you Zac here in the room. But, okay, so it's in the fight, right? It's in the I seen the Koba guy, Koba dude on TV, and he's not, his wife, Jennifer Morrison, my favorite wife, in movies. And she talks about it early on. And then, of course, Brendan. Yeah. Brendan, not Tommy. Brendan, the weaker of the two fighters.
He has to fight.
He has to fight Koba.
So he's in the fight, and he's getting his ass kicked.
It is not even... if it wasn't talked about earlier on, Brendan taking beatings and somehow staying alive, you would be like, he would be dead in real life.
Doesn't he do the classic action movie thing where he hits him a couple times straight in the head and he just doesn't flinch?
Yeah. Oh yeah, hits him straight in the head. Koba power bombs him. Yeah. He straight up power bomb WWF styles him.
The hit a character in the head, watch him not move or even flinch is one action movie classic.
It's so classic because it's literally impossible.
Yeah.
If anyone just hits you as hard as they can on the chin, you will react. No matter, especially if they're a professional fighter. I love it. It's wonderful.
So he's getting his ass kicked, and he goes to the corner, and at this point, the reason the speech has to happen is because he's doubting himself.
He's doubting himself. The music kind of comes down.
He's doubting himself that he can win.
Yeah.
So Frank Grillo, who's now actually... Grillo, since this movie, has gotten pretty famous.
He's gotten pretty damn famous.
Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff now, and he's getting bigger and bigger roles. Obviously, Crossbones was a big deal. It was after this.
Yeah.
But...
Marvel.
Yeah, but he sits down, and... Why are we here?
Why are we here, Brendan?
Why are we here, Brendan?
Why are we here?
And it's just... So I've gotten to talk to Frank about this.
Yeah.
For a couple years ago, I interviewed him for that show that he did, Kingdom.
Yeah.
And I got to ask him about it. And Frank Campana, it's my favorite. It's my favorite moment of yours. It's one of my favorite movie speeches of all time.
Yeah.
And he improv'd a lot of that speech. So some of it was written by Anthony, and I said,
which is unbelievable.
Yeah, but he improv'd a lot of that speech, and I was like. I said, he was like, he'll never admit this, but, I improv some of that speech. I was like, no, Anthony told me that. He's like, really? Yeah. I love that. Yeah. He's so excited.
Well, because he goes, why are we here, Brendan?
Yeah.
Why are we here?
Yeah.
He's like, if you don't want to win this fight, if you don't want to, we can get tests, we can get the kids, we can go home.
We can go home.
We can go home.
You don't knock him out.
You don't have a home.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you don't knock him out. You don't win the fight.
Yeah.
You don't knock him out. You don't have a home.
You don't have a home. And then music.
Yes.
And you're like, yes.
He's gonna beat him.
Yeah.
How is he gonna beat him?
It gets you so hyped when I think I cheer more in that movie when he beats Koba than maybe any other moment.
Well, because also we got our good friend Kevin Dunn in there who's like, yes, he did it, honey, he jacked him, he did it. And that's one of the things that's so beautiful about that movie is the reaction of the other fans is the same as you and me watching it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because the end scene, the final 10 minutes is one of my I don't know, maybe one of my 50 favorite minutes of movies ever made.
One of the greatest endings ever. I mean, About Today coming in.
But it's not. You cheer in a different kind of way.
Yeah.
You cheer in an emotional way. When he beats Koba, you cheer in a straight up sports movie way. Like he won the fight.
Yeah. You like get up. It's like you're actually watching your favorite team.
It's like the United States beating Russia.
It's just like that. And you knew. Did you know that he was going to beat Koba in that moment? I've
probably seen the movie 90 times.
Yeah, it's hard to remember.
Can't remember.
Yeah.
I think you assume that he's going to fight Tommy. Like that's how you assume that the fight has to get there. Every
time I've watched this movie with someone new for the first time, they always start thinking Tommy's going to win at the end.
Yeah.
And then throughout the fight, the final Brendan-Tommy fight is they realize that Brendan has to win.
Yeah.
Even before the arm gets broken.
I also like that Tommy doesn't I like that Tommy doesn't get hurt prior to the fight or something in some way that gives Brendan that edge.
It's just a straight up
he just beats
fight. He just beats him outright because he's better tactically.
Yeah.
As a submissive fighter. So and Tommy can't win.
And by the way, guys, as we've said, if you haven't seen the movie Warrior,
oh my God,
I promise you the spoilers we just gave you will not ruin the movie.
Doesn't matter.
Go watch it.
It's still just as good.
Nolte got an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor as their alcoholic father. And he's incredible.
Anthony and Gavin fought tooth and nail to get him in the movie. All the way down to not even telling production who they cast. So we got someone.
Yeah.
And then Nick shows up the first day and they're like, what the fuck? We told you we didn't want Nick Nolte.
It's the best. It's my favorite. So
my point though is that Tommy can't win because he's not the underdog.
Right. And it would be unsatisfying.
It would be unsatisfying. Brendan loses. He loses his home.
Yeah.
Him and Tess and him and the daughter out on the street. No way. Daughters. No way.
No way.
So.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling hyped. I'm feeling hyped.
I know. I feel like I want to go watch all these speeches right now.
Yeah. So, all right. I think we can both agree that winning is more important than surviving.
Well, yeah, because I think we found out in all the instances that it seemed like surviving was more important. Those guys all died.
Yeah.
And winning is actually the most important part.
Yeah, winning is essential to a movie's plot. And a fist pump in an action, sport, drama, whatever we're going to call this genre, I don't even know. But it also sort of does signal the idea that, even the most... there are action-y sports movies, right? Like Rocky IV is a very action movie.
Yeah.
And even that, it's the same thing. It's it doesn't really matter if it's an action movie or it's a sports drama like Creed. The same moments are still the ones that resonate.
Right, because you have to make Rocky an underdog again by killing Creed.
Yeah.
You make Drago that strong. And then he has the speeches, all of the speeches out in Russia with the trainers and with Adrian and with everything. And then you got the fight at the end. The amazing fight. It's the same damn formula.
It's the best.
Except
that one, they literally were we're going to have these guys literally just full on punch each other in the head 40, 50 times.
That's every Rocky movie.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
I feel 4 though, that how strong Drago's supposed to be.
Yeah, his punches could kill someone.
He hits Rocky in the head that many times.
Yeah, I also love in Rocky 3 where it's just him and Clubber Lang just haymakers to the head, back and forth, over and over and over.
Oh yeah. Which is the one that he has to get bigger? Is that the one where he fights Clubber? Or is it that he gets bigger to fight Drago? He has to wear out Clubber, right? So he has to get smaller.
Yeah, he has to get smaller and faster to keep up with him. I think Drago, he definitely goes and trains in Russia instead of in the States because it's supposed to be more grueling.
And he gets bigger.
Yeah.
Because Drago's a bitch because he's on machines. He's roided out on machines. He's just straight roids in the movie.
They just show him shooting up roids in the movie. There's just a quick cut of needle and vein, and that's it.
Oh, man. I love this shit. So we have one last segment we're gonna get into with you guys today, and this is gonna be stupid. With a fun tag at the end here. Andrew and I talked about this. There's a lot of actors, actresses that we really, really love that we think deserve one of these sports movie moments.
Yeah.
And so we decided we would each pick a couple actors, actresses, what have you, and just sort of pitch the way it would go briefly.
Yes. If we were to write our own.
Yes.
Heartwarming moment. Do you want me to go first? All right. Nick Cage.
You took Nick Cage, huh?
He's a revered gymnast trainer. He's been one of the most famous trainers of all time, but he fell out of it because he's been an alcoholic.
Okay.
But he comes back into it because Ansel Elgort, a late bloomer in the men's gymnastics scene at University of Oregon. Go Ducks.
Okay.
Okay, right?
Ansel's a duck.
Ansel's a duck, and he's a gymnast.
Okay.
And Nick Cage is his trainer, right? And we're going to relive that moment where he breaks a bone Whatever bone it is. It always happens to gymnasts. They break a horrible bone, and it's on the vault.
Throws him off.
He does the vault. He lands on his foot wrong, and he breaks it. He breaks like a couple toes and like his ankle, right? Nick comes out. How you feeling, Ansel? Yeah. It's not his name. It's Trevor. How you feeling, Trevor? He's like, I don't know. I don't know if I can do this. It's like, Trevor, I know I was never a good dad. That's the other thing. He's actually his dad.
Oh.
Yeah, he's his dad, too.
Did you just come up with this right now?
No. I've got it all written down. So look, Trevor, I know I wasn't there for you and your mother. I've had a drinking problem. I'm sorry. But right now, I need you. I need you to be a bigger man than I've ever been in my whole entire life. I need you to get back up there, and I need you to do this floor routine. I need you to do it, and you've got to hit the double axel at the end with the twist. It's the only way we can take it. It's the only way we can do it, and I need you to be a better man than I ever was. And they're crying, just crying. They're taping him up. They're bandaging him up, trying to hide it.
Does he win or lose?
I don't know.
You have to watch the movie.
You got to watch the movie. He goes out, floor routine starts.
Okay.
Cut to black. I can't tell you the ending.
Okay, fair enough. So I decided.
I just want to see Nick Cage be Ansel Elgort's dad. That's basically all I had going into this.
So here's what I decided I would go with mine. It's Jackman. It's Hugh Jackman.
Of course it's Jackman. Who's he screaming at?
Chloe Grace Moretz.
That's sad.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you though. This is where I go with this. Also, another abuse of an alcoholic father.
It's the only way you can do it in sports movies.
It's the only way you can do it. I'm ripping off a little bit of the Warrior formula. When she's a little kid, he's alcohol. He beats the mom. The mom leaves.
Yep.
So and she's a foster kid, whatever. He comes back in her life. It's a little bit more like the wrestler in that sense. Now he's sober, and she's a basketball player, high school basketball player.
Chloe's
Yeah,
point guard.
She's a wing. Yeah, and so Jackman, but Jackman was a prodigy basketball player when he was younger. Of course, he was amazing.
Why did he fall out of it?
He played for Villanova. He got involved with the wrong people, and he took a bribe. And so he was disqualified. It was a big story. He
took a bribe.
He was in the papers. That's what started to drive him down the wrong path of drinking. So
this movie's way better than mine.
Yeah. So he comes back in, and he's got to basically train her for for the big state whatever fucking thing. I don't know. It's a big.
She's pushing back.
She doesn't want anything to do with him. She doesn't want him to be around. But here's the twist. The twist is that he's not really better. He's still kind of a fuck. He's still kind of like making mistakes, right?
Right.
He's still kind of drinking, and he's trying to hide it from her. But at the end of the day, when he's giving her the big speech, they both kind of know that it's this moment. He's got to give her the speech to get her hyped to win the game. Yeah. They still might not have a relationship afterwards, even if she wins or loses, because he still sucks. She doesn't really want anything to do with him. But he's the hardest trainer, and he's the biggest motivating force. And she's going to listen to him in this moment. And if she wins, he's going to feel some amount of validation, and maybe, just maybe, he'll survive. There's going to be a lot of like, come on, you can do this.
You can do this. You can do it for your mother.
Yeah, exactly. He screams. I think probably in the speech he does apologize for beating her mother.
You literally just described the Nick Nolte Tom Hardy scene where he holds him in the bed.
Yeah.
Where it's like he's doesn't know if the relationship's going to work out in the end, but he has to have that moment with his dad.
It's borrowed from a few of these movies.
A couple things.
It's a stereotypical type of deal. It's a stereotypical. I think probably the line that I use this in my speech, but I think the line, "We will not be intimidated."
Yeah.
I think it needs to be thrown in there because I think she must be playing against like much bigger girls, like a much bigger team.
She's a tiny point guard.
She's a little point guard.
Yeah.
I think she's a good actress. I think she could handle it.
I think she could too.
She could keep it together.
Just depends on the script, man.
Yeah.
Your movie's better than mine.
You like it?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I just wanted to see Nick Cage talk to Ansel Elgort and a gymnast.
You did an impression. I just yelled.
That's an impression. All right, so I think,
I think Jackman he might even do the thing where he's talking like he doesn't even care. He doesn't care.
He was a great trainer and an alcoholic in Eddie the Eagle, right?
No.
That's what he is.
I should watch the film.
It's a good movie.
I like Eddie the Eagle.
I actually like Eddie the Eagle
I've never
a lot.
seen Eddie the Eagle. But I like Jackman a lot. He also he's a father, not a great father. He's also kind of a trainer in Real Steel, which I like a lot. You ever seen
I've
Real
still
Steel?
never seen Real Steel, but someone was talking about it the other day and they loved it.
It's not great, but it's entertaining.
Yeah.
It's a cable movie. Burns taped it off cable at one point. I watched it.
Taped it off cable on VHS.
He like recorded it.
I got you.
Do you remember? Do you don't remember that he used to do that?
Dude, I watched Warrior was on DVR.
Oh, that's right.
That's what I watched.
He used to just DVR the movies off TNT and Spike.
I would watch that movie relentlessly on your couch.
It's just so funny. It's like refuse to pay for movies.
All right, so action versus sports. Why winning is more important than surviving? I think honestly, we just covered. It's the most relatable thing in the world. You always want your guy to win.
Yeah.
And live at the end of the movie. But if he wins and dies, you're still happy.
You're still happy.
Yeah.
That proves the point right there. Winning is more important than surviving. In life and in movies.
And in movies. Don't listen to what we're
Done
saying.
and done. Guys, thank you so much for listening. It's been another great show here on The Action Guys. We are going to be taking a week off, coming back after Thanksgiving. If you guys want additional content in the meantime, be sure to check out Action Movie Anatomy.
This is us coming back from Thanksgiving.
Are you sure?
Yes.
No.
Yes, it is.
Then that was wrong.
This is us coming back from Thanksgiving. That's why we're
because
covering.
we taped the other one.
Yeah.
So this is the week after Thanksgiving. So ignore what I said. Thank you guys so much. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. We will be back next week with a sweet episode.
Yeah,
actually.
we've got another it's very reminiscent of our Jerry B episode.
Yeah, so it's the premise of the next week's episode, guys, is it's about who will be the last man standing in the action movie genre, and we have a whole fun thing there. So come check that out. If you want additional content in the meantime, check out patreon.com/teamaction.
Yeah.
You can find Drew and I recapping Schmodown matches, doing miniature little movie reviews. We do Skype calls with fans. It's patreon.com/teamaction. We're updating the tiers soon, so be sure to check that out.
Yeah, and you can find me at Andrew Ghai. You can find us collectively at Team Action Show on Twitter, and check us out on Facebook as well. We've got a couple fan pages there, the Action Army fan page and the Action Movie Anatomy fan page. And of course, click that subscribe button, download this podcast. Make sure to go to Collider Movie Podcast. Is that right?
Yeah. Collider Podcast Network on YouTube. Subscribe, and also you can subscribe to the Movie Talk feed on the Apple Podcasts or
Podcast One,
all those things. And on YouTube, guys, please leave your comments. Let us know if you like what you're hearing, if you have ideas, if you think we're onto something, if you think we're big dick bags, whatever you want to say.
Or if you guys have a great father-son motivational speech, father-daughter, mother-daughter. Yeah, pitch it in the comments. We will read them and respond.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. We'll be back.
Bye.